The Game Awards are a joke. They are 100% a joke. I mean, we've all kind of had that feeling that it's like been a joke for years, but like the nominations for Game of the Year this year just solidified as a big fucking joke. Now, there's at least 3 or 4 of these that I'm fine with. One of them I don't really care for, but I know why it's here, and that's totally fine. So we have a list here. Astrobot, great game, fantastic game, best platformer since Odyssey, and before that, it's one of the best of all time in my eyes. Fantastic. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, amazing game. If I had to pick anything on this list, I'd probably pick that as Game of the Year. Even though, controversial opinion, I still think I like Remake more than Rebirth because it was more of a tight fit narrative to me. Rebirth was just so open, and that's good, but I think it like if you're doing like all the side quests and everything, I think it took me to 100% the game, not doing hard mode, like but doing like all the challenges, all the card games, all the side quests, all the collectibles, all the mini games. Took me like 98, 99, 100 hours, like around that point. So very long. I prefer like that 45-hour mark for Remake personally. Black Myth Wukong, I got to about like Act 3 or Chapter 3 in the game, and it's good, and the combat is great, and the world is great, but it just, I don't know, it just feels like something's I feel like it's caught in between that rock and a hard place of like, is it Souls? Is it not Souls? It's like in that weird middle ground where it didn't know what it wanted to do. It wanted to be an action type game, like a Ninja Gaiden type thing, but it also wanted to be a Souls game, but not lean too heavily into it. I think it leaned a little more into Souls than people are saying it does. It clearly does. But I still think it deserves to maybe even have a nomination. Now, Metaphor ReFantazio, not my kind of game. I like Persona 4. I've beaten Persona 5. They're just not my kind of games, and this is essentially Persona, fantasy coded. It's a fantasy Persona game. It's got this, but just slightly switched. Oh, instead of going into the dungeons at night and the school in the daytime, you go into the dungeons in the daytime and you spend time in town at nighttime. So they just flipped it. The calendar system is still here. I was never a big fan of that. You still have your like social link type stuff. It's all here. It's just done in a better way, I guess, but it's just the style of game isn't for me. Balatro. Can somebody tell me why a card poker type game is up here? Like, really? And then at least it's its own game, where I cannot say the same for Shadow of the Erdtree, which is an expansion. It is a DLC. You cannot play Shadow of the Erdtree without owning Elden Ring. And even then, you can't play it unless you get to a specific part far into the game, 20 plus hours, you have to beat a specific boss, to even get access to the Shadow of the Erdtree content. It is insane that this is even considered. I don't know who picked this. They got to be slurping on FromSoft or something, because there's just no way this deserves to be up here. There needs to be its own category for expansions, DLC, remastered, that type of stuff. You're telling me like that card game and a DLC got picked over Space Marine 2, Stellar Blade, Helldivers 2, Tekken 8, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Silent Hill 2, and more and more and more. It blows my mind that this is what was picked. This is an absolute joke, and I hope that when they have this game and they have it where they periodically throughout the show, they show like what games are nominated and what's going to be, at the end where they play the music. I hope this thing gets booed. It's ridiculous and it shouldn't be here. And it's just a slap in the face to like these developers that put out like a brand new game in 2024 that are not getting the recognition they deserve because people are just slurping FromSoft. Like everything they put out is just gold, apparently. I'm not even that big of a fan of Elden Ring. I think it's too open, personally, and I prefer like Bloodborne, Sekiro, like even Dark Souls 3 I think I like more than Shadow of the Erdtree. Lies of P, not a FromSoft game, I think that is better than Shadow of the Erdtree and Elden Ring as a whole. But I'll go into another video on just FromSoft games in general. I just think this is a joke. Would you guys agree that DLC should be, Game of the Year, like material? If so, then Blood and Wine for Witcher should have won, way back in, what was it, like 2015, 2016? And Phantom Liberty should have won, because those are the two best products that came out during their respective years. All right? This just blows my mind.